The world is going up in flames, and that's no secret. But what if disaster could be avoided if only public opinion on nuclear power were embraced? My name is Caleb Branda, and ever since I started watching The Simpsons from a young age, I've been fascinated with the idea of nuclear reactors. I always wondered why there weren't more of them if they generated so much energy. After some time and a lot of coffee, I can effectively vouch for the utilization of the awesome power that is atomic energy. Humanity as a whole is in dire need of a low-carbon replacement to the rapidly diminishing supply of fossil fuels in order to curb the existential threat of climate change to meet the growing demands of developing nations. I believe this void can be filled with that of nuclear power plants. In this speech, I will argue for the use of nuclear power in three parts. First, the indisputable facts of atomic power. Secondly, the concerns of the uninformed. And finally, the implications if implemented. Now, without further ado, prepare to be amazed. To start off, I wholeheartedly support nuclear energy because of the sheer advantages it holds over any other power supply. Seeing as how atomic plants produce energy 24/7 and only need to be refilled every 18 to 24 months, while as conventional fossil fuel plants require a constant stream of fuel and manpower to run. Nuclear plants are a kind of set-it-and-forget-it energy supply. This logic also holds true to renewable energy sources as they can only produce power under certain conditions. Now, as far as the energy capacity of nuclear plants goes, a quote from the Nuclear Energy Institute states that one uranium pellet creates as much energy as 1 ton of coal, 149 gallons of oil, and 17,000 cubic feet of natural gas. While current fossil fuel reserves will run out in the next century, the Earth's supply of uranium can comfortably support the future energy demands until the next technological breakthrough is discovered. Moving on, nuclear energy is not without its faults. However, the risks associated are easily mitigated with error analysis, advancing technology, and preventative measures. Public concern regarding the loss of life due to radiation poisoning and radioactive waste leakage are unsupported by scientific findings. And a quote from the role of nuclear electricity in a low-carbon economy states that all of the used nuclear fuel generated in every nuclear plant in the past 50 years would fill a football field to a depth of less than 10 yards, and 96% of this waste can be recycled. Now, for those who don't know how nuclear plants function, assumptions are made that the area surrounding a plant is tainted with lingering residual radiation from the smokestacks and disposed waste, whereas in reality, spent fuel is safely disposed of in special containers that are stored deep underground to prevent any leakage from affecting the environment. And as for the emissions, when plants are operating under standard regulatory procedures, the radiation emitted in a year is 1,000 times less than that of a single chest X-ray. Needless to say, there's no cause for worry about radiation unless, of course, a reactor meltdown occurs. Now, to concede, 3 major power plant disasters have occurred at 3 Mile Island, Chernobyl, and Fukushima. However, the information gained from such failures can and will help prevent future incidents. Now, understandably, fear regarding power plant catastrophes is not unfounded, as accidents have occurred that negatively affected the life surrounding meltdown areas. However, these accidents are rare, and investigations into why aspects of the engineering failed leads to upgraded equipment, heightened emergency response procedures, and improved technician training to reduce chances of human error. Now, finally, given the current state of events, a shift to nuclear energy would quite literally save the world. With an entirely real extinction event looming over humanity's shoulder, switching to nuclear power doesn't seem so bad when you think about it. Objectively, yes, in the event of a reactor meltdown, the environment will be harmed and lives will be disrupted. However, this is a small risk to take as opposed to certain doom if a transition is not implemented anytime soon. For any reasonable, logical thinker, the way forward should seem simple. Switch to nuclear power and benefit from the cleaner world your children inhabit at the risk of isolated disasters which would affect a smaller area rather than that of the entire globe. On top of that, with the development of electric vehicles, one could also enjoy the perks of high-speed transportation with lowered fuel costs as electricity is much cheaper in comparison to oil. While electric vehicles are expensive now, it can be compared to the progress of televisions. Only affordable by the wealthy at first, but as time advanced they became more accessible to all, up to now, where at least one TV is expected in each home. As the presence of electric vehicles climbs, this would decimate the carbon emissions of the world and lead to cleaner air globally, effectively nullifying the crisis we see before us now. And finally, as a reminder, the world as a whole must come to terms that the solution of growing energy demands and the threat surrounding climate change resides in the awesome power of nuclear fission. Nuclear power is the strongest contender for a future power supply from the advantages it offers over the major energy sources used today. The consistent day-in, day-out production of energy alongside sparse refueling downtime means that nuclear plants are one of the most efficient ways to generate electricity. Not to mention, they also garner the ability to recycle spent fuel on top of Earth's generous supply of uranium. Needless to say, nuclear plants hold no fear about diminishing fuel supplies, whereas fossil fuel reserves are expected to be depleted within 50 to 100 years. Now, as far as health concerns are relevant, the radioactive emissions from power plants pale in comparison to medical X-ray scans, which most people take without a second thought. The only justified concerns over the increased amount of reactors would be the risk of meltdowns due to environmental hazards, terrorism attempts, and human error combined with technical malfunctions, all of which, however, can be mitigated through preventative action and progressive innovations. If nuclear power is embraced, future generations will enjoy a planet not on the brink of extinction, as well as lower transportation costs with the further development of electric vehicles. Hooray! As it stands, nuclear power is an unappreciated source of electricity that would have huge impacts on the current state of the world with regard to climate change and a rapidly depleting supply of fossil fuels. Now, I know that nuclear power isn't the hero we asked for, but it's the hero we need for a cleaner and brighter tomorrow. Thank you.